Hi, welcome to the Frugal Frau. I'm Sukey, your host, and today we're going to show you how to make a box, such as the one I have in my hands here, using simple hand tools. But before we get started, please like, subscribe, and comment. It helps the channel out. Now, in a previous video, we showed you how to cut dovetails, and in this video, we're not going to detail how to cut those dovetails, but you could join the box with other joints, such as lap joints, or you could simply butt them together. But the point is, you are going to just need simple tools to make a box. You don't need anything fancy, and you don't need anything electronic. We did it all by hand. Now, we just used a saw, we used a grooving plane, but if you don't have a grooving plane, you could still cut your grooves using a chisel. That's a lot more work, so this really is a handy tool to have. So, let's get started. We have assumed you have already prepared, dimensioned, and cut the wood into the size box for your project. First, determine the layout of the wood, which edges are up, which sides are out, and where the corners should meet. Do this no matter how you choose to join your corners. That is, if you choose to use lap joints, dovetails, or some other method. In this example, we have chosen to join the corners using dovetails. Watch our video on our method for hand cutting dovetails if you wish to learn to cut them by hand with simple tools. Tom marks the bottom edge of the box on the outside face of each of the 4 box sides. He places a V at the approximate center near the bottom edge, and it serves to mark both the outside face and the bottom. Next, he lines the boards up so that he can easily mark which long side corner is to be joined with which short side corner. He has a very specific way he likes to mark that, and I will show you that in a moment in a photo that I have marked up. Right now he is marking the alignment of the 2 boards, one with a straight line and one with an angle line. That way he never confuses which direction they go and which is the outside and inside. Just another way to help you keep this all straight as you assemble the box. If you are going to assemble the box using dovetail joints, this marking is crucial, and that is explained very well and very much in detail in the video on cutting dovetails. If you are going to join the corners using dovetail joints or half laps, be sure to draw the alignment numbers far enough from the edges so that they don't get cut out when cutting the dovetails or the laps. Note, the numbers are all on the top edges, as is the perpendicular and diagonal board alignment mark. And the V's are all at the bottom and on the outside face of each board. The bottom of this box is going to be attached via a groove. Use a grooving plane to do this, or if you don't have one of those, you could also use a small chisel. Make sure you are cutting the groove on the inside face of your board. Repeat the process on the remaining 3 box sides. On this inside face near the bottom, there happens to be a large knot, and that can still be cut through. It just presents a little bit more difficulty, so he actually starts cutting right into that knot immediately. If necessary, use a chisel to cut the groove through the knot. Smooth the edges with another chisel because it may result in rough edges. Tom picks up a larger chisel here and just cuts the inside edge vertically, and then he can pick up the grooving plane and get through that and clean it up a bit. The bottom of this box was resawn from a thicker piece of wood, and our next video will demonstrate that process. First, mark a depth line that the board edge needs to be to fit into the groove. Tom marks that from the inside face of the bottom piece for the box. Our groove is 1/4 inch wide by 1/2 inch deep, so the depth line along the edge is 1/4 inch. Next, Tom marks the bottom face of the box bottom piece about 1.5 inches from the edge all around. He does this because he is going to remove excess material at an angle to this face down to the almost 1/4 inch depth at the edges. This is done because when the 1/2 inch tenon is cut, it will help prevent the wood from tearing out. These lines are merely guidelines to aid in consistently removing the excess wood around all 4 edges. Put the piece in the vise. Tom likes to place the side to be planed away from himself to do this. Since the wood is thin, he actually only leaves just enough out of the vise so that he can gently plane it down. Be careful not to apply too much pressure when doing this because the board is actually thin and it is not necessary to really apply that much pressure. Tom is doing most of this with a small coffin scrub plane. It's an old plane that he's had for many years, and here he actually takes, looks like the jack plane, just to take a few more swipes to get it a little bit smoother. Just repeat this process on all 4 edges, and when you are done, it'll look like sort of like a raised panel. Now the flat side that's not getting planed will be on the inside of the box. Next, mark the width needed to cut the rabbet cut for the board edge tenons. In this example, the width is 1/2 inch to match the depth of the grooves cut into the inside faces of the box sides. Tom cuts away into that line with a knife just to help the plane run along that edge better. But instead of starting with the rabbet plane, he actually just starts with a chisel to get the bulk of it off. It's actually a little easier than working with the rabbet plane. And he just uses that rabbet plane just to do the final cut. And repeats this on all 4 edges. He tests it to make sure that it fits well, and it does. Tom has cut the cross grain tenons first. Now he is going to cut the 2 with the grain tenons. And that's a typical manner of working when you're cutting tenons and panels, etc. Always do the cross grains first. The process for cutting these is essentially the same as for cutting the cross grain tenons. He starts off with a chisel, and then he will grab the rabbet plane to clean it up. With everything cut, it is time to start the glue up. This is a simple process. Don't forget to place the bottom in before you put the last side on. And it gives it a little tap with a mallet to just seat it in there better. It is always fun at the end to put that last piece in. And he has to probably gently tap it down. He uses his big strong fist. And a mallet helps. And he gives that a gentle tap just to seat those joints better. Don't forget to wipe all the excess glue off at the end. Here he's just adjusting the placement of the bottom by just moving it a little bit over into the opposite side groove. Last step of the construction is just to clamp it. It is not necessary to clamp it very tightly, just enough to be firmly holding it all together. Wipe off any excess glue that oozes from the joints. After the clamps are off, clean up the box sides with a plane to smooth out the dovetail joints. And you can also put a plug in where the dovetail and the grooves meet.